Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. We'll just give it a couple of more minutes. I started a little bit early, obviously. Let me know if audio's okay. Let me know if the music is too loud or anything like that. Yeah, so we'll just give it a second. Got a few things open which I will close if need be. Seems the audio is really or the music, sorry, is quite low, but I don't want it too loud, so oops. Okay, so let's get into it. So we'll get the boring sort of disclaimer bit out of the way. So I want to say thank you to a couple of companies that have helped with getting this build on the live stream. So first up, we've got Fysetc. Fysetc have been kind enough to supply the kit for this build. They were happy to send it after they've already obviously sponsored the channel with a V0 or a couple of V0s actually, which I do need to make a video on one of them. So yeah, they were happy to supply the kit. I asked for a specific size and color frame, which they were happy to go ahead with. I want to say thank you to Richard at PrintyPlease. He's a local to me shop that sells various printer hardware, mostly centered around the Voron community. He's got a vendor channel on the Voron Discord, and he was kind enough to supply me with some filament for this build, which I will show you before we sort of start unpacking things. I'll show you the filament. And lastly, although it's not here yet, BigTreeTech have finally supplied, or will be supplying, a TFT50 touchscreen for the build. And I'll come on to why I approached them for the touchscreen a little bit later on. But that should be on the way, so that will be an interesting thing. So I haven't used Clipper screen on, well, that's a lie. I did attempt to use Clipper screen on just an old mobile phone, but it didn't really work that well. So yeah. Hello, the W. Nice to see you along. Yeah, so I know I've started a bit early, so if there's anything that I need to go over again, I will. Obviously, I haven't started unboxing anything yet. It was just getting that sort of disclaimer bit out of the way. I'm also preparing myself for a Fysetc Trident build in a couple of days. Excellent. Have you got your kit at the moment, or are you still waiting for that? And what size and colour frame did you go for, if you had a choice? So I've just put a fan on because it's going to get pretty hot in here. So if you can hear that and that's annoying, let me know. And I'm sure there's a delay on audio anyway, so. Yes, it arrived already. 300mm golden frame. Nice. So the frame will be the first thing we take a look at, purely because, so just to give you an idea of space, so where I'm, this current area used to be where my fans, okay, excellent, thank you. This is normally where my 2.4 is built or sits. That's actually on the other side of this wall at the moment, printing parts for the Trident. Directly behind the camera is my E3D tool changer, which I'm thinking about selling, trying to get rid of that. Over here, so over there, is where I normally sit and I've done some live streams from. And then next to that is my laser cutter. So there's not a lot of room in here. So basically I've got the boxes literally right next to me. What I'll do is I'll pick that stuff up, then just look at it on here. So I've got the overhead camera as well, so we can have a closer look at things. So we'll just give it another couple of minutes. We'll wait until actually 3 o'clock, which is when I should have started. See if a couple more people roll in. So I've took the requirement, if you want to be subscribed for 5 minutes before you can talk in chat, just because just to try and get a few more people to start talking in chat. And if you aren't subscribed and then don't want to subscribe, you can still join in. So sort of the format of today, I've got only like a couple of hours, but what I would like to do is basically just go through the entire contents of the kit, and then I will talk about so I'm not going to be building this Trident or this Voron as a stock build. Couple of reasons for that. One, I did my 2.4 like that just to see what Cyborg's kit was like, because they pretty much provided everything, including the printed parts, so I wanted to obviously see their printed parts as well. Next reason is that this kit is not old, that's probably the wrong way to say it, but it's maybe a couple of revisions old from even what Fysetc have got on their GitHub. So there's a couple of things that were missing from the kit that is current, so I've added those. And I've also decided that this build is going to be the first build that I do that's CAN communication. So I'm going to be using a different control board basically, which ties into the reason why BigTreeTech have kindly sort of sponsored the build with a touchscreen. The W. I will also build it like it came, being my first DIY kit ever, then I'll upgrade it later. Yeah, so also PCB or CAN, different toolhead, my plan, yep. So from what I can see, this doesn't come with any toolhead PCB, because I've had a little brief look in the boxes. But I've already got some BigTreeTech stuff, so that's why that's going in the build. But yeah, I wanted to do CAN. I'd planned to do CAN bus on the 2.4, but honestly, because it prints so well, it's one of those things I don't want to tinker with it. Like, I don't want to completely take it out of action, take all the cable chain out, take all the wire loom out to put CAN in, and then have issues. So we're going to build CAN straight into this one, and then we'll deal with the issues if there are any that come up. So it's now 3 o'clock, just gone. So let's actually start having a look at the kit. So the first thing I'm going to get out is the frame, because that's basically the first thing that was in the box. So I'm just going to switch over to this different camera view. We'll have a look at those printed parts in a second. Hopefully this camera is going to be light enough for us to see. I will try my best if I need to lighten it up a bit. So I'll just grab the frame. The one thing I would say I'm going to probably do that multiple times today. What I would say about Fysetc is that they pack their kits really well. Where does your top down camera sit? I'm just curious. Sit as in just on the wall. So the wall's right here, and then it's just basically a webcam that I've screwed to the wall. And then the other camera is sitting behind my laptop, which is in front of me. So Fysetc, I really like how they package their kits. So with other kits that I've unboxed, you've basically just got your foam trays and then all bags of stuff crammed in the spaces basically. Whereas the Fysetc kit is nicely boxed where it needs to be. The nice foam padding is the right shape for everything, and everything slots in that needs to be. So I think that's really good. So let's have a look at the frame. So I went with a purple frame. I was kind of hoping it was a little bit darker than this, but it's still a nice frame. I've done the black frames before, but this is their purple frame. So it looks like they do all their cutting and threading and then do anodizing. Yeah, it would be nice. I'm a fan of like a darker purple. So this is the frame. I'm not going to get the whole frame out because it's basically just going to take up space that doesn't need to at the moment. So there's just on this one piece, there's a couple of little nicks in the frame, probably from shipping or whatever. Well, actually, it's probably like that when I went in. So that's something that you would probably want to check. Hello, Maple Leaf makers. Tomorrow is coming mine from Fysetc, so I hope this video will be helpful. Which kit did you buy? So this is the 300mm purple frame, as you can see. Let's take a look at a different piece. If I can get it back in the packaging. We can't, we won't bother. So yeah, so we went for the purple frame, hoping it was a little bit darker, but unfortunately not. So let's take a look at just another random piece. So like I say, I mean this one's not threaded, but they do all their cutting and anodizing after the frame is cut. Or yeah, they do the anodizing after the frame is cut, so that you get coloured ends as well. So what we'll obviously have to look out for, because they've done that after the frame has been threaded, or the holes have been threaded, that the screws and everything goes in okay. Now I'm suspecting they'll be a little bit tighter because of the anodizing, but it shouldn't be like impossible to get the screws in, hopefully. So then also in this box is some hardware, which I assume is basically the hardware to put the frame together, because there's a hardware box that we'll look at in a second. So rather than put like everything in one box, they've put the frame stuff in here. So basically what we've got is some M5 roll-in peanuts, and then what looks like, now where did I put my, I'll just measure it here. So these are 15mm or 15 to 16mm M5, I would say, and then some slightly smaller 10mm ones, I think. Yeah, 10mm. So I'm guessing those are just for the frame. So for anyone joining a little bit later, I'll just go over a couple of things that I said at the start. So Fysetc were kind enough to send me this printer kit to build on stream. That's basically it. I had to pay the import fee, which is fine. This shipped from China. Now, I'm in the UK, which is no longer part of the EU, so they couldn't send it from the EU warehouse. So if you're in the UK, that is something to bear in mind. Having a look on, oh sorry, just looking at something on the camera. So Fysetc, kind enough to send me this. Thank you to them. PrintyPlease, who is a vendor on the Voron Discord, was kind enough to send some filament, and we'll have a look at the printed parts now, so you can see the purple frame, and then the parts that I went with are going to be grey and purple. So I don't know if this will show up on camera, but it's a sparkly grey. And these were printed on my Voron 2.4. So the W. I'm in the EU, and for me it was $599 total for the 300mm. It would have been $620 for the 350. Yeah, so you being in the UK, in the EU, you got a really good deal. They were having a clearance deal for their EU warehouse, and possibly from China as well, I'm not sure. But that was a really good price, so I'm glad you were able to get one. So yeah, so these are some of the printed parts. I'm still printing more at the moment. And then this is the purple. So like I say, I would have liked the frame to be a little bit darker, but I still think it's going to look really nice with these colours. And then I had that sheet a second ago. These were printed on one of my V0s, the 0.2, also from Fysetc. And again, some of these parts aren't Voron Trident parts, but I'll come back to what I'm doing with some of them later. So this is on the Fysetc safe sheet, and this has basically just been left to cool down, and they basically just literally fall off. Like, they come off really nicely. So that's really cool. Maple Leaf Makers has asked, will this be my first Trident? Yep, so this is my first Trident build. So I've got, let's drop something. So I've got a Cyborg 2.4, which is next door. I've got 3 V0s, and then this is going to be the Trident. Yeah, so the 2.4, which is next door, which you probably may have seen on the stream before, is the traditional red and black. And I wanted a red and black one because I wanted to have what was sort of iconic colours for the Trident. But this one I wanted to be like completely different, to have a coloured frame, nice different coloured parts. Maple Leaf Makers, all the important members of the family. Yeah, exactly. So me and Richard, one of the so I'm in various Discord servers, Cyborg Discord server, Fysetc Discord server. Richard's in there as well. He's a fellow Brit but lives in China. And we've got a little bit of a competition going where who's gonna get the most Voron models first. So he's in the lead because he's got a switch wire as well. So, but we might, if we can arrange it, if we can get all the parts together, try and build some legacies on a stream. That was something we maybe talked about. So the W, glad my PIF parts came in labelled bags. Hope you won't have issues with all your parts in the same box. No, that's fine. The Voron manuals are really good at pulling things out. So and I've built a few printers, so I sort of know what's what. So let's move on. Yeah, Richard wins. So that was the frame, really nice colour frame. I'll put that down here. What I'll do is I'll get the first layer of this box out and we can have a look at that. So this is what I was saying about their packaging. So it's really, I really like how they've got boxes of things rather than just bags of stuff. So let's start over here in the corner. So like a lot of manufacturers, they've got all the hardware in a plastic box, which I really like. Just keeps everything organized. You can see what screws and nuts and bolts you need at a glance. They're labeled up here as well, so I think that's really cool. So we've got our rolling nuts, hammerhead nuts, all the hardware, some bolts, the bed spacers, heat inserts here. That's really nice. Like I say, so the frame appears to have its hardware in its own box, whereas the rest of the kit is in here. So that's really nice. Nice sturdy box that we can obviously use going forward as well. So you'll see here there's an empty space. So this kit, obviously they had the option to have a Raspberry Pi. That would be where that is if you selected it. I didn't, so there's nothing in there. So this box is the 12864 display, which won't be going on the build obviously, but I have one on the 2.4, and it is really handy to have something at the printer should you need to make either a quick stop or make a change to your first layer height or anything like that. Let me grab a pair of scissors and we'll open this up. We might as well open these up and have a look at them. So it obviously comes with the flat ribbon cable. And then this is basically the same sort that you would get if you was to buy it from Fysetc directly. So it's just the display with the two ribbon cable connectors, SD card slot, and then the knob that goes on the dial, which has got, I don't know if you can see it, it's got like that clear ring. That's so that the NeoPixel, which is just there, can shine through. So that would obviously sit on there like that. Does Trident need a Raspberry Pi to work? What is the purpose of the Raspberry Pi or Orange Pi? So these Vorons run on Clipper firmware, and so Clipper firmware basically runs on the Raspberry Pi and sort of takes some of the processing away from the toolboard, from the control board. So yes, you do need a Raspberry Pi or Orange Pi or whatever flavour of Pi you want to operate it. So the supply shortage of Raspberry Pis is definitely coming to an end now, and they quite readily available from anywhere that you would get a Pi. I've already got one that's going to go in here, so that's fine. The 2.4 next door is running on the Orange Pi that came in the Cyborg kit, and I've not had any issues with it whatsoever. It's more than capable of doing it. If you can get a cream pie that runs Clipper, then yeah. So let's move on to the next one. So what is a little bit different about the Trident bomb is that they still specify a 5 volt power supply. So I believe in the possibly the R1 revision, but don't quote me on that, of the 2.4, or it's just not supplied by most manufacturers, that you don't have a 5-volt supply. But Fysetc have included this 5-volt 25 amp supply. It's a Meanwell power supply, and the reason that this is not really needed actually is because most control boards have the output to power the Raspberry Pi, which is what this was for. But I think in the documentation you can wire your NeoPixels, if you're going to put NeoPixels in the printer, or any 5-volt device, you can run straight from here. So the next thing we've got is our SSR, and that's to basically switch our mains powered bed. So that's basically an essential item for controlling these mains powered beds. And this is an Omron, and then we've got some serial numbers, part code here, but let's just see if it tells me what I'm looking for. So this is a 25 amp SSR. Now I probably won't be using that because I've got another one that I will talk about nearer the time to using it. But this one is perfectly acceptable. I'm using the one that came with the 2.4 kit next door, so that's fine. Next thing we've got is cable management pieces. So these will basically go in the electronics bay of the printer. So as I said earlier, obviously I'm not doing this is a stock build, which means I will be doing the inverted electronics mod for the Trident. So with the 2.4 at the moment, if I want to do anything in the electronics, I have to basically, now I've got the rock and roll mod on, but if I didn't, you literally have to turn the printer over to get to the electronics on the back. Now if you've got a 300mm or bigger printer, they are pretty heavy, and so moving that around is going to be quite difficult. So the inverted electronics mod on the Trident basically means you would remove the deck panel, and then you've got your electronics there. So you haven't got to pick the printer up and turn it over. Make Relief Makers, inverted electronics, very good. Never build Trident without it. Yeah, exactly. Now I think you can do it on the 2.4, but you have to hinge the bed, which may work, may not work, which is why I've got the rock and roll mod, because then I've only got to basically tilt it back and it rests on some printed rails, so you can access it. But yeah, definitely worth doing the the inverted electronics, and that just means you print a couple of different parts. I've got some of those printed next door, and then the motor brackets that I showed you earlier are actually the inverted electronics ones. So let's have a look at, we'll come back to linear rails. So next thing we've got is our DIN rails. These are basically what the electronics will clip into. So they go that way up, and then you've got printed brackets that clip into these and hold the stuff down. And the SSR has a metal one, which is in one of the other boxes. So they're nice, and it's nice that they're, so these are cut to length. What's also nice is that the edges, let me show you, have been rounded over, so they're not sharp at all. So I thought that was a nice detail. So they're good. And then we've got another box here. So this has got our 2209 drivers in for our control board, which we'll get to later. Heat sinks, and then we've got here, so this has got an XY PCB, so rather than wiring micro switches to wires for your X and Y, it has a circuit board that has a printed part that goes with it. So when you're printing the parts, this is a specific part that you need, and that does your X and Y. Again, potentially going to go sensorless homing on this, so I won't be using that. And even if you didn't go sensorless homing, you can relocate, because I'm going to do CAN and I'm not going to be having all those wires in the cable chains. You can relocate the end stops to other locations so that you don't have to run the cable chain. So, because I'm going to get rid of the cable chains entirely. So let's have a look at some linear rails. So this is the MGN12. So this is our X-axis linear rail. So how does sensorless homing work? So basically what it does is that it relies on the driver, the little circuit board that I had earlier. It relies on that sensing when, essentially when the carriage crashes into the end. Now, when I say crash, it's not a hard crash at all. You basically configure the software to have a sensitivity, and you also, when you're homing, you lower the current that's going to the stepper, so it takes very little force. So what it does is it lowers the current, then homes the axis, and it bumps into the edge. When it bumps into the edge, it thinks, oh, I've hit the end, so I'm at my home position, then does the next axis, and then it basically does it that way. So it doesn't rely on a switch, it just does it through what's called stall guard. So it basically just knocks against the side. Is it stall guard? I can't remember, but it's basically using software to detect when it hits the edge. I didn't cut that end off, so I'm just going to cut this off and have a look at this rail. So if you have a look at a video of a Voron V0.2 homing, that uses sensorless homing. I just like a thought, thank you. Have a look into that, along with the inverted electronics. Yeah, definitely have a look at that. I haven't at the moment, but I will, once we get going into the build series, I'll put links in the description to certain things. But yeah, you can find that quite easily if you just Google Voron Trident inverted electronics. So this is our MGN12 X-axis, feels really smooth. No binding at all there. So what I would definitely suggest you do, so this doesn't even have really any oil on it at all. You should lubricate your rails. So again, going by the Voron BOM, they recommend some oil, or some grease, sorry. So I have EP2 grease, which came from PrintyPlease here in the UK. And then you would basically just oil your carriages, not oil, sorry, grease, just so you can lubricate the balls, because it's metal, basically metal on metal. You want to put some lubrication in there. Now the kit, no kit comes with that. That's a shipping issue. So no kit supplier that I know of supplies grease. So don't worry if you haven't got that in the kit. That's just something you would need to buy yourself. We'll open another rail at random. So this is a MGN9, and this is one of the Z-axis linear rails. Again, there's not a lot of oil on here, so this won't need cleaning. This will just need greasing, really. And again, that runs nicely, no binding, pretty smooth. It will basically fall on its own. So in case anyone asks, now I'm not entirely sure if this is the code on here relates to the preload of the linear rails, but the end of the model number has Z0, so I'm going to assume that that relates to the preload of the rail. But those look really nice. They seem to be smooth and will just need greasing, as I say. So let's get the next layer out and we'll put that on top of here. Has anyone got any questions about that layer before I move on? No, so I'll move on. So this is basically the only next layer in this box. I probably could have done with the camera slightly higher. What I might do is take this layer and put it back in the box. Sorry if that's rubbing the microphone or anything. Again, as you can see, these really nice boxes with lists of what's in them. I think, and I've not scanned one of these QR codes, so I don't know where it goes. So let's find out. So let's do this box. So basically just takes you to the Fysetc website. They all look the same to me. Yeah, so it just basically takes you to the Fysetc website, which is handy. Possibly going to the GitHub or a manual might have been good, but whatever works. So I've got this box out, so we might as well start with it. So this one has got some fans in and then some cable management stuff. So we've basically got some nylon braid and then some of the split loom wire management stuff. Now, personally, I've seen this in some pictures from people who have done kits or Fysetc themselves, but they've put the cables in this and then put this in the cable chain, and that is not what you want to do. You want the cables to have a little bit of movement in the cable chain itself. So don't use these to put cables in and then put this in the cable chain. This is fine for, I think down the back side of the Trident, we have the cables come from the gantry down to the electronics bay. That's not in anything, so that would be fine to go in something like this. But don't put this with cables in the cable chain, is my advice. So we'll put that away in a second. And then we've got some fans. So the kit comes with afterburner as the tool head. Again, I won't be doing that. I'll go straight to stealth burner. So I will need to supply one fan that doesn't come in the kit, but that's my choice to go to stealth burner. So what I like about, again, another thing that I like about the Fysetc kit, so everything is basically, what's the word? Basically, they've made the wires individual. So when it's on putting the tool head, you've just got this small cable to deal with. You haven't got to take a cable from the fan, permanently connected to the fan, all the way through the tool chain, back down to the electronics. We've got basically an extension cable to do that for us. So everything at the tool head will be disconnectable, which is quite a nice thing. So that's a sleeve bearing brushless fan. That's a 40 by 10, I believe. And then this is a 40 by 10 blower fan. Again, so this might be more than 10 actually. This is like a 40-20, I think. So these are afterburner fans. and then you've got these bigger 60mm fans, these axial fans, and these are for electronics bay and the filter that goes on the back of the printer if you choose to use it. And then obviously power cable, UK power cable for me. Yeah, so the reason they've done that is because there's no tool head board in here, as far as I'm aware. So you wouldn't have like that one cable that's pre-made going back to the tool head. So they've basically just have loads of individual wires that are extensions basically. And we'll see that more when we get to the other tool heads, to the other cables. So that was that one. We'll start over here next. So this is again, this is more, again, labelled, everything is where it needs to be. So then we've got, again, everything pre-wired and ready to go. So if you're following the up-to-date Trident manuals, you may be confused here because this has got fork terminals on, but in the manual it'll ask you to put stuff into Wago connectors. Now this kit doesn't come with Wago connectors because this is a slightly older revision. So I've purchased some Wago connectors and that's what I'll be using. So what these basically are a very well-known standard connector that everyone will tell you to use. And what this allows you to do is basically so these are all connected down here. So you can put, say, in the middle one you might put your live cable, and then these are like spring loaded connectors, and then every wire you put in here will be a live wire. So you can put one in from your power in and then take it out where you need to go, rather than having multiple cables in a screw terminal, which is not good and they're not designed for that. These will allow you to put multiple wires in. So that's a really, again, because it's a slightly older kit, it doesn't come with them, so it might be worth looking into getting some of those. And you need the 5-way, and these will be for your electronics bay, and then you've got the 2-way ones, and this goes under the bed. And again, if you're printing or getting parts from PIF, you will probably have a part that is for these because they think you should have them. So yeah, so some of the wiring will be a little bit different from what you see here going into a Trident build. So a nice feature of this kit is it comes with the clicky probe parts. Now these are the standard clicky probe parts. So your switch that you need to wire yourself, your magnets, etc. I will be using, potentially, I haven't decided if I'm going to put this on, but I purchased the PCB clicky. So basically what this is, and ignore these colours, these were going to be used for a different printer. But what that basically is it transfers the components onto a PCB, and then you have, can you hear that? And then you have this on your tool head rather than have to wire it up and do it yourself. So I haven't decided if I'm putting this on yet. I'm not probably going to do tap. I'm on the fence about whether I like tap or not. So it comes with clicky, and again all the wire you need. Comes with an Omron probe as well, So if you chose not to use clicky, you wouldn't have to. You can use the Voron probe that it comes with instead. And again, let me open this up. Try not to make too much noise on the mic, but so again, comes pre-cut and terminated at the right length to sit in the tool head and plug in, or plug into an extension, which is what that is. So I really like that. I think that's really clever that they've done that. So you're sort of getting the self-source feel by having all the components individually, rather than say on a umbilical, but you're getting the convenience of having cable extensions. So that's the Voron probe. I'm just going to reposition this fan a bit. So I'm sorry if you can hear that. Yeah, you should be okay. So just cooling myself down a bit. So that's the Voron probe. We've then got heater and thermistor. Again, pre-cut to length, terminated with your extension cables. In this box we've got a couple of things, or in this bag, sorry. So we've got a cable that is to connect to our Raspberry Pi, so that we can communicate with the Raspberry Pi by UART. We've got a switch. Let's see if that's, so that's our Z limit switch. And then again, extensions. And then there's an RS cable, which I think is for the 5-volt power supply. Something to do with the 5-volt power supply. And we've got another bag here. So this bag has got our XY limit switch extension cable and a USB-C cable. We've then got power cables. So again, this sort of relies on you wiring everything into the power supplies rather than Wago connectors. If you choose to use these, you can. If you want to stick with what's in the kit, you can do that. The kit does actually come with, and I think I've probably put that at the, oh no, it's here. So the kit does come with a nice wiring diagram, and it's a nice big A1 page wiring diagram. So if you're using everything that comes in the kit, obviously you have to supply the Raspberry Pi, unless you've got one in the kit, but it tells you how to wire everything. So you can use the stuff in the kit. I'm just choosing to do it a little bit differently. And then we've got our stepper motor extension cables, pre-terminated, ready to go in the board. Really nice. So it's nice that the kit comes with everything. Everything's pre-wired, and then a list of everything that's in there. Next box. Anyone got any questions? Please feel free to ask. Even if it's about something you've already seen, something you haven't seen and want to ask a question, go for it. So we've got a few things in here. We've got our SD card. I think I took that out of another box that I was having a look through, so that might not already be originally been in here, but got some Allen keys, some tools. We've got so this is an interesting little bag actually. So let's get into this. There's a couple of things that I don't even know what they're for. So we've got that's a Bowden tube coupler. There shouldn't be any issue and using the kit way. Yeah, so yeah, if you don't want to buy, so what, this kit has got everything you need to build the printer. What you may have to do is follow an older version of the Trident manual, because like I say, the latest manual, if you go onto the Trident GitHub page, will ask you to use the Wago connectors. So you might have to find the slightly older version of the manual, so that you can follow how the kit is laid out, but you can certainly use everything that's provided in the kit to do it. Yeah, I think I did see, I didn't look at the actual link, but I think there is, you're right, someone did link, that's probably Richard, probably linked to the older manual. So yeah, if you choose to do it that way, you certainly can. So this is another type of a Wago connector, actually. This basically is for the case fans, the electronics fans. So you can put 2 fans into one side and then 2 cables out the other side to go into the control board. This is a nice addition. So this little thing here is the protective cover that will go on the terminals of the power supply, which we'll have a look at in a second. Oddly enough, the power supplies don't come with it. Some do, some don't. And so this is an extra item. I think this is even listed on the BOM as a separate item. So that's included. We've got some magnets, which will be for various different things throughout the kit. We've got a keystone jack, if you choose to use RJ45 connection. That plugs into the skirt, one of the skirts. We've got a Fysetc badge. And then here, this is our pin that goes in our ZN stop. So the 2.4 on the Trident are a little bit different, excuse me, than say if you're used to say an Ender 3, which uses an end stop to do the Z. This uses, the probe is literally only for bed mesh and Z tilt, and then you have a separate switch that's attached to the back of the bed to register your Z height, and this goes into that, so that's part of that. Now this is something I'm not entirely sure about. These are 2 I assume steel rods of some description. I have no idea what they are for. If anyone knows what these might be for, then let me know. No idea. They are, give you some length. You've got one that's 40mm long, and then one that is 100mm long, and they're like 2mm in diameter. No idea. No idea what they're for. Just in that bag. So let's put this stuff away. Try not to lose anything, so I can't find it later. We've got our rubber feet, go to stand the printer on. We've got our BMG internals, so this is for our extruder, so that will be in the afterburner. And that's basically got your gears, yeah, everything you need in there, bearings. We've got some belt. Now I'm guessing that this is not Gates belt, but this is the brand that Fysetc also is one of their sister companies. Let's see if I can see any branding on the belt itself. I tell a lie, it is Gates belt. That's probably not going to focus, but Gates power grip. So that is Gates belt. That's for the hinge on the display. Oh right, okay, interesting. Because I know I didn't get those in the 2.4 kit. I thought it just used a screw, but thank you for letting me know. The manual. So with the smaller one, would that be for the afterburner front hinge? That's interesting. So we've got some JST XH connectors and pins, housing and pins. We've got basically all our bearings, and these ones here. Let's get these out. These ones here are like I'm not sure what the name is of them, what they are called, but they're for the bed to tilt on a little bit. They move. This inner bit moves on the outer bit, and then we've just got the rest of our bearings and pulleys. Now this is interesting. If you were watching Chris's Basement stream yesterday, you would have seen he pointed out that LDO provided a bearing without a flange for the ZN stop. Fysetc have done the same thing. So they've basically took a pulley and took the flange off. You could have done it yourself, but they've provided it for you. Sort of bearings, bushings, yeah. They have got a name and it's in the manual, but I can't remember. So that's our little bag of bearings and pulleys and stuff. Now another interesting thing that the kit provides, if I just pull one of these Z steppers out, that's it, GE5C, thank you Maple Leaf makers. So this is one of our Z steppers with integrated lead screw. We've got our brass nut, but the kit also has anti-backlash nuts. Now I don't know if they're recommended to use over the brass bushing or the brass nut, but you've got some anti-backlash nuts included. This is 250 high, so this is Voron spec and not LDO spec. So it's 300 by 300 by 250, yes. So what else we got? So this is our metal DIN rail SSR mount. So our SSR will sit or attach to this, then go on our DIN rail. We've got some PTFE tube. We've got some normal 2x4, and we've also got some. So this piece of Bowden tube is an inner diameter of 2 mm and an outer diameter of 4, and that is for basically your hot end. The small piece of PTFE tube you need to go from the extruder out down into the hot end. And then we've got some, what I assume by the look of it is 3 by 4 mm. So that's a 3 mm inner diameter and a 4 mm outer diameter, and that is your reverse Bowden tube. So that will basically go from the filament spool holder to the tool head, because you want less drag on the filament as possible, so you use a larger inner diameter thing. Strange that they included 3mm ID stuff, but with this kit, but not in their 2.4. Yeah. I haven't looked, but I'm not sure what's specified on the BOM for the V0.2. But yeah, like I say, this is an older kit, so I don't know if the newer version they haven't included it. So we've got some cable ties, and then what looks like some heat thermal compound. Now you would sometimes use that if you were building like a V6 style hot end. I'm not sure what the intention is for this kit. And then the last thing in the box is a RJ45 cable, Cat 5e, if you're going to go that way. So let's get all this stuff back in the box. What did I do with that SD card? No idea. So that's that little box. Some good stuff in there. So let's go to the next one. So this box has got our foam tape, our VHB tape. This is for some panels, use this, I think. And then also, I don't know where you would use this too much on the Trident, but it's for like sticking things to other things. And then we've got our foam tape, and foam tape goes on the panels, so you can create a better seal to keep the heat in. And then we've got our cable chains. So these are for your X, Y and Z cable runs. And then these are three hole ends. So if you're printing the parts yourself, there'll be an option for 2-hole and 3-hole, and these are 3-hole. So we've got 2 which are the same length, and then 1 which is slightly smaller. And the only one I'll be using is the Z, because I'm getting rid of the others. Now, how did these come out of here? I can't remember now. Got to try and get these back in the bag. So not a lot in there. Didn't get the chance to look at them, but they don't open right. I believe they do open. Yeah, I think they do. Yeah, they are the opening type. Yeah. You see there, I opened that one, and then it just clicks closed. Hello U3DP, nice to see you. Yep, so the cable chains are the opening type, which is a nice, it's very convenient to have opening ones. Especially when you've got to run, so they're obviously asking you to run a lot of cable through these. So it is very handy to have that. And thank you for asking the question, because I would have just gone past it without even checking. So at least if someone watches this, they can see that the chains do open. So thank you for asking. So that's all of that box. We're going to start getting on to the interesting stuff now. So we've got our main well, 24 volt, 200 watt. That's all right. So this is our main well power supply, and as you can see, there's no cover. That's why they've included that separately, because it's a separate item when ordering power supplies. So obviously, if you're getting this and you're in the EU, make sure you change the voltage to suit where you are. So that is a Meanwell LRS 200 watt 24 volt power supply. And then under the box we have a few goodies. So we'll start with this. So this is our control board. So this is like I say, a slightly older version. This is the Spider 2.2 board. Doesn't matter if it's slightly older. You've got the wiring diagram, just follow that and you'll be absolutely fine. So let's get this open and have a look. We've got a little bag of jumpers, and then there's in this little bag, let me show you, is this connector here. This black connector with a cable coming out of it. That is very important. That goes in this hole here, and that is what determines the voltage that can go to your first two drivers. So you can have 48 volts or 24 volts. So don't lose that little plug, because if you don't have anything in there, these two drivers won't work. So these have got, if I can see, they've got 63 volt caps in them. So they'll handle the 48 volts if you choose to do that. Yeah, so you've got plenty of I/O on here as well. You've got the Pi UART stuff, Pi Power and UART. That's for connecting your Raspberry Pi directly to this. You've got end stops. You've got thermistors, fans. You've got 3 fans that you can control the voltage of as well. So you can have 5, 12 or 24 volt. You've got some permanent power pins there. So they are probably, they're 20, so you've got, that's interesting. So you've got 2 24 volt and 2 12 volt. Probably won't focus that well, but they're there if you need them. And so, yeah, everything's written on the back, but also you'll obviously have access to the GitHub if you need to see what those pins are. Yeah, so that's the control board. I won't be using it. We'll have a look at what I'm going to use in replacement of this in a second. Make sure I put those back. That goes back in that hole. And then we've got our hot end. This comes with the Fysetc high flow, Dragon high flow. I haven't opened it. Let's open it and have a look. So these normally come in 2 colours, these ones, and it's either black or blue. So I haven't decided if I'm using this hot end yet or not. My 2.4 has a E3D Revo on, and it's not, I haven't got high flow set up or anything like that. But I like the toolless change of nozzles, so I may put another one on this printer. Haven't decided yet. So let's see what colour we got. We got the blue one. Oops. So that'll actually be the second one of these I've got. And then if you take this bit out, you've got your hot end and then your nozzle was separate. And then for using it on a Voron, you would take this top groove mount off, and there's just how many is there? Just 2 screws underneath that attach this. You take that off, and then you've got your 4-hole bolt pattern that you use to go in your tool head. So yeah, now obviously because the nozzle is not in the actual hot end, you will have to make sure you remember to hot tighten this down when you build it. And that basically means you put all your heater and your thermistor in, screw your nozzle in, and then before you use it, you want to heat this up to like 250 to 280, and then you want to tighten that nozzle, because what you're doing is creating a seal between the nozzle and the copper, I think it's copper, heat break part. So it's important you do that. So that's that. And then basically, so this I assume is some filter foam that would go in the back filter if you were doing that. I'm not going to be doing that. I'll probably have Nevermore or another type of carbon filter inside the printer. And then also in that hole you've got some flush cutters. As you can see, I've already got some, plus many others that are sitting behind me. Nothing else in that hole. So we'll put our bit of foam back, and then we've got some stepper motors to look at. So as we said, this is set up for afterburner. So this is our extruder motor, NEMA 17, very pancake-esque motor. That is a very short wire, but again, you'll have an extension wire for that. If you was to want to connect this to a tool head PCB, that would be too short, almost certain. The W, didn't even realise that is filter foam. I thought it was there to hold the component in the box. No, I'm pretty sure it's filter foam. The only reason I say that is because it's not the same foam as everything else, and they would assume that you're going to have the filter, because that's what one of the 60mm fans is for. So that's what that will be for. So that's our extruder motor. We've got our, if I can get it out of the box, we've got our 2 A and B motors. So we've got codes on here if anyone wants to know the model number. I'll put that in front of the camera. Don't know if going closer is going to help. No. But I can also read that out. So that's 17HS 19-200 4S-C. The 1.8 degree hybrid stepper motor. That will be your A and B, or X and Y if you want to call it that. And then the other 3 steppers are our integrated lead screw Z motors, and you've got your brass nut already on there. And then the code for this one is quite a bit longer. So this is 42HC 40-204A-300N84. So that means it's basically a 300mm integrated lead screw. That's basically what that is. And you get 3 of those, obviously. And then that's that layer done. So if you've got any questions, put them on, and I will be getting this back in the box so that we can then look at the last box. So actually, if you didn't know, it actually comes in 2 boxes. and you probably received them separately like I did. So I'll just get the frame box as well, put that in. Sorry if that was rubbing on the microphone or anything. So I'm just going to have to juggle these boxes around a second. So I'll bring this box over and we can just go directly out of that box. So if you're paying attention, probably shouldn't have my address on there. I'll put that box over here. So if you're paying attention, you would notice that we've not had a heated bed so far. So that is what is in this box. So another piece of foam, and I'll get this whole assembly out so we can have a look at it. So this is our heated bed and our aluminium bed and our flexible build sheet. So this is a 250mm by 250mm, and it's a 220 volt 600 watt heated bed. So let's try and sort these cables out a bit. So from what I understand, where's the end of that? Right, so this doesn't have, by the look of it, an integrated, oh, let's have a look at some questions. U3DP, I feel sorry that I had not had Fysetc on my radar and bought Cybor. I will see how good the build will work from next month. So have you got a Trident or a 2.4 from Cybor? I've got a Cybor 2.4 next door, prints beautifully. So Fysetc and Cybor equally as good as each other. So Richard, he's not been in the chat today, but he's occasionally in the chat. Has sat down with both parties, both Cybor and Fysetc. He's been to Fysetc's warehouse or factory. He's been to Cybor's factory. Yeah. So yeah, don't worry about that. We also got bed installation, unlike Cybor kit. Right. So this bit, don't want it. Do not use it. The whole point of the heater is also to heat the chamber. So you don't want to put insulation on the bottom of the heater, because what you're going to do is you're going to stop the heat coming out. Now that would normally be a good thing, but when you're trying to heat a 300mm, well, bigger than 300mm, but you're trying to heat an enclosure, that heat needs to come out. So I'm not going to be using that. Don't worry about that. So you got your heater, right. So I thought that the thing is the bottom panel will start warping. No, it won't. My Cybor printer next door doesn't have insulation on the bottom, isn't warping the bottom panel, because you have two 60mm fans in the electronics bay that come on when the bed comes on, so you're always blowing air. The Cybor kit, and I haven't got to that part of the Fysetc kit, but the Cybor kit comes with polycarbonate panels, not acrylic, so they're not going to melt. So you don't need it. Absolutely don't need it. So this is our thermal fuse. So it isn't integrated into the heater like the bomb sort of suggests, the separate fuse. But again, so what you would basically do is you'd put your fuse in this side and then your extension cable in that. I'm not pushing them in, they will come out, but I'm not pushing them in. And then this bit will attach to your aluminium build plate, or like me, I prefer to stick it to the pad, because this is a thermal fuse that's triggered by temperature. If you put this on your aluminium plate, the aluminium plate has got to get to 125C before it triggers it. If you put it on the pad and the pad gets over 125C, it's going to trigger quicker. So I personally will be attaching it to the pad. But I like the quick, or the connectors they've used. These were on the 0.2 that I built, the both of them that I built recently. And these are just insulated, and it's got some heavy insulation plugs that plug in, and they will, I didn't push them in, but they will lock in and stay secure. So that's really good. And we will answer the question about what the panels are in this kit in a second. But my advice is not to use that insulation. If you've already done it, then obviously you can carry on using it, but I'm going to take this off so I can talk about that in a second. So here we've got our flex sheet. So it's double-sided, smooth on one side, textured on the other. Got some Fysetc branding on both sides. Nice. I will talk about this insulation because it has been included, but you got some like 5mm insulation. I wouldn't use it. If you choose to use it, that's entirely up to you. Now this is the magnet, and this is like 2mm thick. I've never seen such a thick magnet that goes on a aluminium build plate. That is so thick. Now that's got some advantages, that it's obviously going to make this really stick down when we use it. But what that's also going to mean is that that heat that we want to come through from the heater into the aluminium into the flex sheet is just going to take longer. Now if you've been around Voron for a while, you will know that you should preheat your chamber, printer, heated bed. So you give that time to fully heat up and to fully penetrate every layer of insulation. Hope the magnet holds at 100C. Yeah, I print so ABS printing next door, bed's 110. Cyborg kit, however, magnet not a worry. Keeps everything down. Both the V0s print at 110 as well. They're Fysetc kits. Magnet, no problem. So I won't worry about that. And then we've got our aluminium bed. So we'll unwrap this just so we can have a look at it. So before someone asks, I will measure the thickness. So this is 8mm thick. Yep, an 8mm thick aluminium bed Let me just double check that, looking on the side. We've got to take into account the chamfer as well. Yeah, I'm pretty happy that's 8mm. And then it's obviously tapped, drilled, tapped where it needs to be. Sorry for the loud noises if that's making a loud noise on the microphone. I just want to get this open so we can have a look at it. Let's get this right off so we can have a proper look. So obviously we'll need to have a clean before it's used. So this is the top, because it's got the countersunk holes for where your bed screws would go. And then on the other side, it obviously doesn't have any countersink. It's got two holes at the back which are threaded. That will be for a ground wire and also for the thermal fuse. So what I would say, now I don't know what material this is made of. Aluminium, but I'm not sure which grade. It is not as smooth as I've had other beds. So the sideboard bed was really nice and smooth. This you can definitely feel where they've ground it. You can feel that on both sides. It shouldn't be a problem because your obviously your magnet will go on one side and your heater will go on the other, so it shouldn't be an issue. And then obviously we'll see what that's like. I could put a thing on it. Sorry, I've only got a short thing, but doesn't appear to be any gap under there at all. So that's flat. And I don't have the equipment to sort of measure the flatness, but we'll see what that's like when we run some bed mesh. That's the heated bed and build plate. So the rest of the box has got our panels in. So let's have a look what we've got. Try and get one panel out. So these are our doors. And these are cast acrylic, as it says on there. Can you see that one? Yeah, cast acrylic. I won't get all the panels out because we just don't need to, but we'll just get a couple out to have a look at what we've got. So this will be our deck panel, and this is extruded acrylic sheet. So this potentially could warp because it's only acrylic, but what I would say with the Trident, your bed is not going to be right at the bottom for very long because you obviously your gantry is fixed and your bed moves, so your bed will be at the top. So, but you can print some clips that go around the outside edge, and that just gives the panel something to sit on. And then we've got our bottom panel. This is the panel that goes at the very bottom of the printer. Again, this is extruded acrylic. And we've got another panel. So this will probably, I'm not entirely sure which panel's which now. But we've got a few base panel panels as well. And we've got probably our top or a side, and this is clear cast acrylic as well. We've only got 2 more panels, so I might as well get them out. So again, clear cast acrylic, so these will probably be the sides. So that's all the panels. Has anyone got any questions? I'll put all these away. So that was the entire contents of the box, 2 boxes. Oh, Richard's here, and Steve Builds is here. Nice to see you, Steve. So if you don't know who Steve is one of the design people with Voron, and Steve was actually the person who designed the Trident. And that's why it's his unbiased opinion that it's the best Trident, the best Voron. Yeah, everyone say hi, Steve. Say hi, Richard, as well. Someone else has posted a comment. Please don't forget to write down the comment section what extras you have bought. I'm interested, especially the plugs for the wires. Yep. Yes, I will put that down in the description a bit later. So they were Wago connectors. So yes, I will put that on there. So Richard has prompted the question, what mods are we going to be doing? So let me just grab a few things. And it's fortunate that Steve has turned up, because I actually won on one of Steve Build's live streams. So this is the CAN board. So this printer will be running via CAN bus instead of umbilical wires. And then to go with that, I've got the U2C. So this is a piece of hardware that you need to basically connect up to your control board, although some control boards do have that built in now. And then, so as I said, I'm not going to be using the spider board that comes with the kit. I'm going to be using the octopus board. And the reason I'm doing that is basically because I want to keep all of the electronics as compatible as possible. So we've got BigTreeTech CAN board, we've got BigTreeTech U2C, so we're going to be putting in the BigTreeTech octopus board. Can you show the cable that come with it, specifically the tool head end? Yes, I will do that for you in a second, Richard. So this is the Octopus 1.1. I've used this, I've had this quite a while. I've used this for a couple of different printers. The last time I used this was in my IDEX printer that was running RepRap firmware. So that's going to get repurposed for this. So Richard wants to see this cable, and you want to see the tool, where did he say it? Cable show, the tool head end. So that will be this end. So this is, let's see if I can show it on this camera. Let me switch cameras for you a second. See if we can get a better picture, or a better, I'm going to have to focus it because this is on manual focus at the moment. So this is, do they call it an XT30+2 or something? I think that's how it's referred to. Then let me refocus that on me. There we go. So Rich is saying, so yeah, they have replaced it with a newer cable, as that one apparently didn't deliver enough power due to the gauge wire. So they might have caused, so that might cause you problems. XT32+2. Okay, I will probably have to do a little bit of research about that and see if I can find out what that is all about. So yeah, so basically this connects to the U2C here. So the red and green wire is your CAN communication, and then you've got a red and black wire here, which is for your 24 volt. So that supplies 24 volts to the toolhead board, which is in here. And then this has got all of the electronics on it that it needs. This is a two-piece board as well, so there's one goes on the front here. This has got like a converter on for 5 volts for neopixels and stuff like that. So it's basically gives you 4 wires from your electronics bay to your tool head, rather than, you know, upward of 10 or 15 or 20. Do you know, Richard, if they actually changed the connector, or if they just supplied a different cable with different gauge wires in? So yeah, so they are going to be one mod, if you want to call it that. And then obviously earlier I spoke about the inverted electronics that we're going to do. So that just makes it easier to get into the electronics bay. I probably will keep with the stock belt tensioners, or the idlers at the front. Same XT30 2x2 with a slightly different looking housing. It just a little bit bigger. Okay. So that's something I might have to look into. But the reason also, so we've got BigTreeTech stuff. Now we switch over to the other camera. So we've got our BigTreeTech stuff. And then I said earlier that I'm getting the TFT50 screen as well, so that we can have a touchscreen clipper screen interface. So what else? So we'll have a look at this as well, actually, while we're here. So obviously there's the Raspberry Pi that I'll be using. And then I said earlier about the power inlet. So I will be using, I don't know if it's still the recommended or still in the BOM, but it's the filtered inlet. So this is what I'll be using for our power inlet. And this basically has then an inlet, oops, and a switch as 2 separate items, and that's a really satisfying click noise on the switch. And there's one of the skirts that you will print allows for this version and the version that's in the kit as well, so you've got 2 choices there. And then potentially I'm going to use this SSR rather than the one that came in the kit. So this is again a 25 amp SSR, But you can certainly use the one that come in the kit. I'm just using these because these are the BOM recommended ones, I believe. So they'll be going in the kit. And Richard has sent me a DM, and I'm not sure if I can view the picture because I know that Discord likes to, it knows that you're streaming, so it yeah, I can see what you mean now. It is a slightly bigger connector. Interesting. I'll have to, I wondered why the music wasn't on. There's me oblivious to the fact that the music has stopped. That is a solid switch and a nice SSR, yeah. I'll have to see what they say and see whether that's a problem that they are fixing anyway, or if it's something that would get replaced if you needed to have it replaced. But I'll check on that and see what they say. Do you know if that's a problem with both versions of the toolhead board? Because this is a 2209 and there's the 2240, is there? Probably doesn't make a difference, but so that's stuff that's going in the kit or stuff that's going in the printer. Anything else modification wise? At the moment I haven't got any other mods planned, but I'm open to, I think it's mainly the 2240 which had the issues, and I think it needed more power, but could be wrong. Worth reaching out to find out though. Yep, I will definitely do that. So as you weren't here earlier, Richard, or if you were but didn't say anything in chat, I will show you the printed parts, or some of the printed parts. So we've got, so this is the sparkly grey from PrintyPlease. And I'm going to switch over to the other camera because I think that might give us a better picture of this filament. Let me try and zoom in. If I can hold stuff in the right place now. You can see the sparkle in that. So that's PrintyPlease sparkly grey, and then for the accent colour we've got this Cheshire purple, again sparkly. And then we've got, I haven't printed all the parts yet, I'm still printing parts next door. This part might need to be reprinted because I had the very slightest of layer shifts, so I might reprint that part. And that's one of the front idlers or belt tensioners, I'm not sure what the correct term is for that. These are the stock ones. I haven't done the ones with the pins, mainly because I haven't got any of the pins. These were printed on my Cyborg 2.4. Really, really nice prints, in my opinion. So yeah, I think they're going to look really nice. Oops, wrong way. So yeah, I'm still printing parts next door actually. Make sure that's zoomed in and focused. There we go. Yeah, so that is basically everything unboxed. Like I said, so I'm very fortunate to have had a couple of sponsors for this build. So Fysetc, very thank you to them. PrintyPlease, who supplied the filament. And I've got one of the boxes down here, so we can have a look at that. Cat yarn. And then BigTreeTech are going to be sending me the touchscreen as well. So again, thank you to them as well, and to all of them. What else? Oh, I think I did show it earlier. Another mod, I suppose you could call it, is we'll be going with PCB clicky, potentially. I haven't fully decided. The inductive probe works really well on the 2.4, so I haven't really decided whether to do something else without saying too much, because I'm not sure if I'm allowed. So yeah, we've got options for different probes and bed leveling and stuff like that. We'll definitely be doing stealth burner from the beginning. Wait a week and I'll post it to you once I get it. So am I allowed to say much? Oh, I think you should go with the cartographer. I think I should probably go with the cartographer as well. Wasn't sure how much you want. I mean, I ain't gonna be, not many people are going to be watching this stream, let's be honest, but there may be another probe coming to the market called the cartographer, and cartographer is another term for, is it someone who writes maps or someone who draws maps? So when we're talking about maps, we're talking about bed mesh and scanning the bed, shall we say. So that's potentially something we should keep an eye out for. So yeah, I think so. I will make sure that I get the name of these. So these are the Wago connectors. I know someone asked about that earlier. I'll put them down in the description later. I'll finish writing that. But yeah, I think that is pretty much all for this stream. Just wanted to have a look at everything that was included in the kit. Yeah. Anyone got any final questions you want to ask, or yeah, anything you want to ask, just go ahead. Yeah, so it's the 221-412 is the 2-pole one, and then it's 221-415 for the 5-way ones. Yep, excellent. Thank you, Richard. Richard's put for those numbers that Richard has put in the chat, they are basically the model numbers. So if you was to go on Amazon, eBay, I know that PrintyPlease actually sells them on his website. So you can just go on there and search for that, and that will come up, and that will give you the Wagos. Richard's bought, I mean, I've got 10 of each. Now, I'll tell you something I do like. I don't know if you've seen these before. So when I did the 2.4 bed, I used these, which are inline Wago connectors. So let's switch over to this camera. So rather than connecting next to each other, these are pass-through ones. So you can put a cable in both ends and basically join them up. And these are, do they put the code number on them? No. But these are probably like 221411 or something like that. But yeah, and then you've got three-way ones as well. Loads of different ones. So again, for anyone who's watching, they aren't included in the kit, or they're not in the kit that I got, but that doesn't mean you have to buy them. The latest version of the Trident manual will call them out, because that's what is recommended for the latest version. But I believe Richard posted a link in the Fysetc Discord, which is linked in the description, to the older manual. I think that was you who did that, Richard. So that would be more relevant to the kit that you've seen me unbox today. But because I'm not strictly going by the kit, obviously with these additions, I will be using the latest version of the manual. So stealth burner. Yep, so it was Richard who linked to that in the Fysetc Discord. There's a link in the description if you want to join the Discord. So yeah, Wagos are awesome, that is true. I know on the Voron Discord there's a sticker that is like someone holding up the Wago. This is so cool. But yeah, what else should we talk about? Is there anything we can talk about? So these, I'm glad I remembered before I printed these. These are the ones for the inverted electronics mod. So it's these parts, so the motor mounts, and then I've got the mold parts that are printed next door that would hold the DIN rails. So they are the only parts you need for the inverted electronics. It's basically like 5 pieces, no, 4, there's 4 mounts and then these 3. And then that will allow you to put your electronics in the top. So you just lift out your panel, your deck panel, and then you've got your electronics, rather than having to turn a whole 300mm printer on its side or upside down. So Richard has asked Steve why, if he was still around. I know he's streaming in 15 minutes, so he might not be here at the moment. Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, what you have to remember when they do revisions on, so the Trident used to be the 1.8. It may just be that they've tried to keep with compatibility, though nothing's changed, I suppose. I don't know. We'll see if he answers, but I know he'll be streaming in 15 minutes, so he might not be around still. Oh, no, there he is. They're drinking his coffee. I'm more of a tea man, although at the moment I've just got just something. Let's see if Steve answers about the question about electronics. Anything else? So I've been having a little bit of a clear out in here, and let me see if I can move this camera just around enough to show you. So I've basically had a clear out of my shelves. So I've now got my V0s on shelves. So a lot of the Trident, the intent was to go along with V2, making a cross compatible as possible. Yeah, so that's what we thought. It was sort of, I prefer my Trident to my 2.4. Blasphemy. But I say this sort of multiple times in different streams. The thing I like about Voron and 3D printing in general is that inverted electronics might not have been a thing from the start for Trident, but someone's made that mod, and so you can add that to your printer if you want. With the 2.4, you've got the rock and roll mod, so you don't have to physically turn the whole printer upside down or put it on its side. There's always someone who's bringing out a little mod or an addition that you can add to your printer to make it a little bit better. So yeah. Steve, your live stream today is at 5 o'clock, is that correct? Or 5 o'clock for me, I should say, so about 10 minutes, is that right? You know, and as we were just talking about different yeah, so I'm going to be a bit cheeky and have a look at YouTube while I'm streaming. Subscriptions. It's a little bit longer to load because obviously I'm streaming at the same time. I'm sure when I looked at it earlier, Steve, oh no, it's changed, it does say 6 PM now. I'm sure when I looked at it earlier it said 5 PM. But I did still stream a little bit later in case I was going to get you to come in my chat. We might have lost a few frames there because I was browsing another thing, but I think we're okay now. But yeah, so I think that's about it for this stream. I wanted to just go through everything today, show you all the kit that's going to go into it, and then in the next stream, hopefully next week, I'll have had everything printed, and then we can start on the frame. So Maple Leaf Makers has asked Steve how many VZBot streams left. So at the moment on Steve's channel, himself and Daniel from ModBot are live streaming separately. They're both building a VZBot at the same time, and Steve thinks that including today there's maybe 3 or 4 left. It'll be interesting to see once they start printing with because they've got the Goliath hot end that looks a bit of a beast. Yeah, 48 volt electronics and all sorts of stuff. So I think I will call this stream here, and then in an hour and 10 minutes you can all go and watch Steve on his channel. Yeah, so thank you for all for coming along. Next week, hopefully next week, we'll start building. We've got several people in the chat now saying that they're interested in building a VZBot. So yeah, thanks for coming along everyone, and I'll see you in the next stream where we'll actually start building the Voron Trident. So thanks for coming, and I'll see you next time.